This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. We've been reporting on VTOLs for a number of years because we think they're going to play a significant role in transportation. But here's a stat that we completely missed. Last year, Joby Aviation flew 50,000 passengers. That includes the New York area, including to and from JFK and Newark airports, and into Manhattan and the Hamptons. It's also providing rides in Southern Europe, though the company declines to identify which country that is. 50,000 passengers kind of blows our mind, and that passenger traffic is likely to grow quickly because Joby just announced that users will now be able to call for a VTOL using the Uber app. And by the way, Toyota is the largest investor in Joby Aviation. Car sales in China were up for the 7th straight month in August. Automakers sold just under 2 million passenger vehicles, up 4.6% compared to a year ago. NEV sales, which includes battery electrics, plug-in hybrids, and extended range electrics, increased 7.5% to 1.1 million last month, accounting for 55% of the overall market. Through the first 8 months of the year, automakers have sold 14.7 million vehicles in China, up 9.5% from a year ago. But if sales remain at that pace, automakers will sell about 22 million passenger cars this year, which is about what they've averaged over the last decade. And with China's home market stagnating, it needs exports to grow, and Mexico is the #1 destination for China's automotive exports. But Mexico is worried about all those Chinese cars flooding into its market and hurting its auto industry, which employs 320,000 workers. So far this year, China shipped over 280,000 cars to Mexico, up 24%, and they now account for 20% of sales there. So, Mexico is now going to hit those imports with 50% tariffs. It's also putting tariffs on cars from Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, India, Turkey, and Russia. But make no mistake, we think this is really about all those Chinese cars. Even so, Michael Dunn, an independent consultant and expert on the Chinese auto industry, says the tariffs will slow the Chinese down, but it won't stop them. Tesla used to have some of the most loyal customers, but not anymore. According to S&P Global Mobility, Tesla dropped 9 percentage points compared to a year ago, falling to #2 in U.S. brand loyalty in the second quarter behind Ford. S&P analysts say that Tesla's aging lineup, along with CEO Elon Musk's controversial political activity, turned customers away from the brand in big numbers. Perhaps more surprisingly, a lot of people that leave Tesla aren't choosing another electric vehicle. About 30% of them are going to gasoline and hybrid vehicles. And worrying for Tesla is that its slide shows no signs of turning around in the U.S. Through July, sales declined 8% to just under 321,000 vehicles.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
According to scientists in the UK, the dust that comes off modern brakes is more toxic than diesel emissions. That's part of the reason Euro 7 standards, which kick into effect for light-duty vehicles towards the end of next year, are going to force automakers to account for brake particulate emissions. So companies are looking for possible solutions, and Stellantis filed a patent that puts a new twist on old technology. It wants to go back to drum brakes and apply some sort of magnetic film or coating inside the brakes to pick up any metal. While the friction material from brake shoes is not magnetic, anyone that's ever taken off a drum brake before knows that a big pile of brake dust usually comes along with it. So there should be less particulates in the air. Plus, as more vehicles with regenerative braking hit the road, there's less need for disc brakes. Japan is really slow at adopting electric cars. Last year, they only accounted for less than 2% of sales. But maybe this Honda EV called the N1 will start to change that around. It was unveiled in July, but went on sale this morning. It's a K car, those dinky little models that usually have 660cc engines and account for about 30 to 40% of the market in Japan. But this one is electric. It has a range of 295 kilometers or 183 miles. But K cars usually don't drive long distances, making the K car segment perfect for EVs. And same goes for the price. The N1 costs $18,300. Every year, Americans spend about a week stuck in traffic, according to CNBC. So, Nissan wants to help. It tested a new system in some of its cars called Cooperative Congestion Management, or CCM. Data from a lead vehicle is sent to vehicles following behind so they can adjust their speed according to what's coming up ahead. Over a 600-mile test on freeways in San Francisco, the following vehicles with CCM, which were separated in 30 to 60-second intervals, recorded 85% fewer hard braking incidents and 70% less time stopped in traffic. And in simulation, CCM also reduced travel time by 18% and fuel economy shot up by 42%. But there's still more phases to this test, like an interface that better communicates to the driver why the vehicle is slowing down, because Nissan says the hardest part is changing driver behavior to not fill up the gap that's ahead of them. It seems like we're saying this just about every day now, but 2025 feels like the year of the robotaxi. Lyft and May Mobility announced that they've launched an autonomous ride-hailing service in Atlanta. It will initially be limited to Midtown Atlanta and only be available to Lyft riders before it expands in the coming months. The service will use modified Toyota Sienna minivans, which will have a human safety driver on board. And in related news, Zoox has opened its autonomous service to the public in Las Vegas. Riders can book a ride through the Zoox app and select several destinations along the Las Vegas Strip, and more destinations will be added in the coming months. The service will initially be free, so riders can become familiar with its robotaxis, and so Zoox can get feedback before it expands. But the company will eventually start charging for rides once it gets regulatory approval. Zoox also plans to expand its service in San Francisco, but it hasn't announced a launch date yet. However, a waitlist is open for riders that want to join. If you like old school design but don't want a polluting old school engine, then the Reborn Austin Motor Company might have the vehicle for you. Looking like something right out of the early 1900s, the Austin Aero is now making its way to customers. Fitting under Europe's L7E quadricycle regulations, which limits weight, power, and speed, the Aero has a 20 horsepower electric motor that moves the vehicle from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 7.8 seconds. However, the regulations in the UK limit top speed to 90 kilometers an hour. A range of 160 kilometers or 100 miles is achieved with a 20 kilowatt hour battery pack. Pricing starts at just under 37,000 pounds, or about $50,000. Can Detroit, which relies so heavily on legacy automakers, survive the massive changes that the industry is going through? In fact, can any region that relies on legacy automakers survive? That will be one of the topics we dive into on today's Autoline After Hours. We'll have Joe White from High Speed Rodeo, Sandy Barua from the Detroit Regional Chamber, and another Sandy, none other than Sandy Monroe. So be sure to tune in when the action gets going at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And that wraps up today's show. Thanks for watching.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Alex Partners, when it really matters. CSP, the Composites Solution Partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering. Boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members:
We help businesses respond decisively to their most critical challenges, from urgent performance improvement to enterprise-wide transformation. We work across the full value chain, in automotive and in industrials, helping clients navigate disruption, drive innovation, and unlock sustainable growth. Alex Partners, when it really matters.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.